and get started with the dependent tracking piece. First thing we want to talk about is our agenda. So what are we going through and reviewing today? What has changed? Who has to report? What employee data fields need to be updated? And then once you update those data fields, how do you verify the accuracy of the information using PayData's reporting? So first thing on the list, what has changed? The great thing to tell you is that nothing has changed. So the information you needed to do last year, you need to do this year as well, in the exact same manner. The fields in the system haven't changed, the requirements haven't changed. If you did this last year and you've been going through and updating the information as you go through, nothing has changed there. So that is wonderful news. If you are new to the process, maybe you didn't do it last year, or you became a self-insured employer this year, then we'll go through the fields that you need to update. Who has to report? Dependent information must be included on Section 3 of your 1095-C if you are an applicable large employer and your company's health plan is self-insured, or you are a small employer and your company's health plan is self-insured. As you can see here, it's all about that self-insured piece. Now, self-insured or self-funded is one in which the employer assumes the financial risk for providing healthcare benefits to its employees. Essentially, you are paying out-of-pocket claims as they're incurred instead of paying the fixed premium to the insurance carrier. So if you are not sure if you are a self-insured employer or not when it comes to the healthcare, definitely reach out to your insurance broker, your insurance admin. They will be able to assist with that piece. All right, updating of employee data fields, things to know before making changes. Okay, so we know that we have to file. You know you're a self-insured health insurance plan, and so you know you have to fill out that Section 3, which is that dependent information, prior to going through and making updates. One is make sure that your dynamic field flag has been turned on. If you sat in on any of the other Session 1 webinars, we talked about this as well, but essentially you're going through and going to that admin workstation settings, and you're clicking that box to show dynamic fields. That will actually go through and turn on your effective date fields, those peachy coral colored fields that are out there. The next thing you have to do is you really do have to validate the benefit information. Now, in the previous session, if you were in any of our kind of Session 1 items, it was really talking about that lowest cost offering. That was the benefit that we were really focusing on. If I was to choose the lowest cost offer, what is that amount? What is the time period of that? This has more to do with the actual benefit that the employee is selecting. Okay, so not that they had the single with the lowest cost available to them, but that they choose the family plan, and now we have to track those dependents that are part of that plan. So there's a couple of things that we have to double check. One is we need to make sure that we have defined all 12 months of your benefit. So in looking through at our screen here, we can see that when we select our benefits, we have our start date of 1/1, our end date of 12/31. If your benefit didn't run for the calendar year, then you might need to have 2 rates out here. You might have a 2-person rate that was July 1st of 16 through 6/30 of 17. You then might have another rate that is July 1st of 17 through 6/30 of 18. When you get to the screen, there will be a Create button out there. So if you do have a benefit and it's only referencing part of the year, and you need to add in another benefit level, you'd click your Create, pull in your value, and then put in your start dates and end dates. What you also need to be aware of are those max dependents. In a moment, we're going to go look at our dependent screens, and when we look at our dependent screens, we're going to attach dependents to these benefits. This max dependent right here is what is going to allow us to do that. So with the 2-person we have highlighted, it is showing a max dependent of 1. Essentially with the 2-person, it's yourself and 1 dependent. That is all that can be attached there. The family, we have 99 dependents. You can definitely put in more if you want to. We have found that 99 has worked well. We haven't had anyone that has exceeded that number. So you'd go through and make sure that you put in those 99 dependents. Now again, this might already be done. If you did this last year, you probably have a lot of these dependents set up. Again, you want to make sure that you're validating the dates. If you went in and did this for 2016 but haven't touched this yet in 2017, you may need to go in here and make sure you're pulling in the rates for this current year. To get out here, you would go out to your company, benefits. You'd select that medical benefit, whatever the appropriate ACA benefit is, whether it's medical or health or Blue Cross Blue Shield or Cigna, whatever you have named it. Then you're going to go to that rates tab, and that's where you're going to see this information. Again, you just want to make sure that you use that create button to bring in new dependents as opposed to just changing what's out there. If you had a benefit table that was already 1/1/16 through 12/31/16, you don't want to just change the dates. It's really important that you go through and add in the new year's information. All right, so that's what you need to know before you go in and make any employee updates. We're showing the dynamic fields and that our benefit table information is correct. The next thing we're going to do is actually go in and make those employee updates. So where we do this, in your system under the HR module, you'd go out to employee and benefits. First thing you do is you have to validate that the employee has the correct benefit listed on that details tab. Now, essentially anything from that details tab will first come in based on your scheduled EDs. So if you have an insurance deduction you've set up on that employee through the scheduled EDs and you've attached a benefit to it, it will show up in this screen down below. You can also create it manually if you want to. There's your green plus key up at the top. You can go ahead and pull it in. What you need to be aware of is that the benefit has been activated. So if you look at your details tab, you see the benefit listed at the top. When you look underneath that and you see that benefit section, and it's like what you see on the screen here, it's kind of all grayed out. There's no benefit reference pulled in. There's no benefit amount type. There's no start dates. It's all kind of grayed out. What you need to do is you need to click on that switch to EE benefits button. So we see that over to the right, there's going to be that option out there. When you click on switch to EE benefits, it essentially activates that benefit. It turns it on. It makes it so that you can go through and attach your dependents to this. Now again, if you've done this last year, this part might already be done for you. You might not have to do that switch to EE benefit. But if it's a newer employee, or you're new to the self-insured piece, or you come through here and you find a benefit that isn't the EE benefit, that's what you need to do. That's essentially going to activate it. So you want to make sure that you can see that benefit reference and benefit amount, the data fields at the bottom, have been pulled in. Okay? So that's going to be the first thing that you want to double check, that we have the benefit active. The next piece that we need to do is actually make sure that we have our dependents. Now again, if you've done this in the past, and if this employee has been on the insurance, if they got their information last year, you might already see a listing of dependents out here. What you want to do is you want to validate that the information is correct, and you might need to add. So if you have had new new dependents attached this year, we need to add those in. Maybe there was a child that was born. Maybe somebody got married. Maybe there is a change out there. So essentially in this listing, we want to verify that we have our dependents listed. If you do need to add somebody, click your create button down at the bottom. That is the button you are going to use to add in a new dependent. Okay, so update the data fields that we see here, and then go ahead and do your check mark, save, and then your commit button. Just a reminder, anything with those red asterisks are required fields, so those are things you will want to make sure that you pull in. Okay. So now, once we are on that dependents and beneficiaries tab, we've added in and verified all of our dependents. Now we want to go through and do the step to attach a dependent to a benefit. Okay? So what we essentially are going to do is we're going to go to the next tab that says Assign Dependents. Okay, and we should see the benefit at the top of the screen. Let's go ahead and let's just take a look at what that's going to look like for a moment. So essentially the next screen is where we would attach those benefits, the dependents to the benefits. At the top will be the actual benefit. In this case, we have a medical family plan. Underneath that benefit, we're going to see both available dependents and assigned dependents. So you might already have assigned dependents out here. You might have people that were attached from a previous year. So one, you want to validate that all the assigned dependents are still dependents, and you want to see if there's any new available dependents. So if you had an employee who had a child this year, you have to make sure that you add the dependent, and then you come in here, they'll be in under the available dependents. You click the Add button, it moves them to the assigned dependents, and now that is a dependent of that particular employee. So let's go through those instructions just to be sure. So we go to our assigned dependents, we see our benefit at the top of our screen, we click on our assigned dependent to benefit, make sure that the correct benefit is highlighted, the correct dependent is highlighted, and then we click that Add button. It's going to move it over to our assigned dependents. Now, the applicable plan dates for the dependent. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that next. When we talk about plan dates, now, and we can see that's kind of the little screen on the bottom. The plan date is truly the dates that this particular dependent were covered for. Now, my example does show the entire year. Essentially, you wouldn't need to really put in the full year if your employee was covered for the full year. So what the system is going to do by default is if your employee had coverage for the full year and you add in your dependent, the dependent will follow what the employee has. If you have a dependent that was not covered for the full year. So again, the child was born partway through the year, so they were not covered for a full year. The employee got married, so their spouse that they added on as a dependent was not covered for the full year. So the plan dates at the bottom are a way for you to just verify that this particular dependent of the employee was covered for a specific time period. Okay, if it matches what the employee was covered, they have a 12-year-old child that has been covered for every time that the employee has been covered, we don't need to necessarily put in those plan dates. It's truly if there's just a change to what was on the employee. Okay, so if they were covered for part of the year, that's what we want to put in those plan dates. Okay, so going through and making the dependent changes is exactly what we just covered. There's not a lot to it, as you can see. It's making sure that the benefit is activated on the employee, that the dependents have been set up, and that they have been applied to the benefit itself. So this is what you're going to be going through with your employees and going through this dependent screen, going through those employees and making sure everybody is attached. Now, if you are new to the self-insured, so you didn't have to do this last year, you were not self-insured, but maybe you're self-insured this year. So when we look at this dependent screen right here, you don't have anything out there. You've got 100 employees and none of their dependent information has been loaded. Yes, you can manually load everything in here. You can click that create button, you can put it in. We have a importable spreadsheet that we can provide to you that will assist you with importing in dependent information. So if you have a lot of dependents that you have to go in and put in, we can assist you with that process. So we have a spreadsheet. Now the spreadsheet is very specific. We can't import in just any spreadsheet, so it's not like you could get something from an insurance company and we could import that. It's been created with specific data fields and specific macros so that we can import that data into the system. So we'd be happy to provide you with the spreadsheet. You can go through, copy and paste, enter in the data, whatever you need to do to populate that spreadsheet. and then we can assist you with that import process. So if you do want that, definitely go out to that client portal, put in a client portal case, say, I need to upload my dependent information. Can you assist me with getting that spreadsheet? And we'll be happy to get that over to you. The one thing you have to understand, what that does is it populates your dependents. You still have to go through and attach your dependent to the benefit. It does not do the attaching piece for you. So it is truly just an upload to get all of your dependent information into the database. You will still need to go through and attach those dependents to the particular benefits. And if there are different dates, you will need to make sure you're putting in those plan dates. So that is just something to be aware. We can assist you with that, but there is manual work involved in that as well. Okay, so that's updating of the employee information. Those are the fields you're going to go through. Once you have updated the information, now you have to validate it. So we're going to go through and run that 1095 preview report so we can verify what we put in is correct. So to do that, we go out to our reports menu and into Run Reports. We're going to select that ACA 1095 preview report. We're going to put a little check mark in the box, and then we're going to go to the report parameters up at the top. From the miscellaneous menu, we're going to verify the settings, making sure we're looking at the correct year. We want to make sure we're looking at our 2017 information, that we're going through and reviewing 1095Cs, and then validating the sort order. Do you want to look at your employee list in code order or name order? So once you've selected that and you go ahead and click that Run Report, we'll then be able to pull up a copy of that ACA 1095 preview report. Now, what we're looking at here is a couple of different things. First is the Section 2. That is what we covered in our previous webinar. If you did not attend one of the previous webinars, we will have the recorded version out there as well. So you'd want to go through and go ahead and watch that. But essentially that Part 2 is going through the cost. What is the series codes for the employee? What is the cost associated? Things like that. As far as the dependent information, we're truly focusing on that Part 3. So in that Part 3, what we're looking is the covered individuals. So the employee and their dependents, all covered individuals are at the bottom. So we see a listing, we see their date of birth, and then we can see the different coverage dates. Now in this case, all the dependents were covered for all 12 months of the year, which is again what the employee was covered for, and that's why that all has an X box in it. If you were going through and only covered for part of the year, instead of an X in the all, you would see X's in the applicable boxes under the month. So maybe with a newborn, the coverage started in August. So what we would see there is X's in the August, September, October, November, and December boxes. We would show that this particular dependent was covered effective that date going through the end of the year. Okay. So a couple of things that you're looking at is making sure that all dependents are showing up on the report, that they are correct, and that you are validating those dates of coverage. So those are the things that you are specifically looking for on this 1095 preview report. Now the great thing is you can run this preview report as many times as you want. You look at it, you find something that's off. Oh, wait a minute, this dependent wasn't covered until this date. This particular employee had an extra dependent that was added in November. Let's not forget that. So you can run that preview report as many times as you need. Make your adjustments, come back in, and rerun your report. Okay. Additional resources. If you have questions about certain things, whether it is about what we covered, whether it's about ACA in general, the best place to go is the IRS, irs.gov. They've got wonderful information out there. In the search engine, type in your 1095s. It's really going to pull up a lot of information for you. That's a great place to go. We also have a lot of information on our website. So if you go out to our PayData.com and into our resource center, you're going to see an option for ACA, Affordable Care Act resources. So that's where you're going to want to go If you want to look at, we have an ACA manual. The recorded videos are going to show out there as well. So if you want to kind of re-watch this session, you'll be able to go out there and find it there as well. Now, questions. Again, you still have time to put some questions out in the webinar itself. You can go through and put that out there. But if you have questions down the road, please submit that through our client support portal. It's going to be the best way to get your answers in a timely manner. It's also going to allow the person who is most knowledgeable to be able to answer those questions. So instead of kind of jotting down an email and sending it to your client service representative, by putting them through the portal, we're able to identify that and get the appropriate people answering those questions. Now, when you get to that client portal, it is going to ask for a login and a password. If you don't know what that is, it's not your Evolution login and password. There's a specific login and password for it. We do set up one login and password per company. So if you don't know what it is, maybe your coworker does, if both of you can get into the system and you have access to things. So check internally first. Someone else internally might know what that is. If you're not sure, there is a spot out there to request a login and password. Now, to get to the portal, if you've never been there before, you go out to our website, paydata.com. There's going to be a little client login option way over to the right. When you select that client login option, then the client portal link is going to be right at the top of that screen. And on that same link, there's going to be the option to, click here to get a login and password. All right. So as far as the information I have for you today, that's it. That covers all of the dependent tracking, the items that need to be put into the system. So thank you very much for attending the session. Again, a copy of this is going to be put out on the website. We'll also put a copy of it out on our YouTube channel. If you've never been out there, go ahead and check it out. It's our paydata.com video trainings. We can take a look at that. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look and see if we have any questions out here. I don't see any questions have been brought up during this session. Again, if you put it out in the next couple of seconds, I'll go ahead and answer it. Otherwise, make sure that you're sending those through the client portal. So again, out on our website, client login, and then go through and access that client portal. If you don't know the password, click on the link. We'll make sure to get that over to you. And that is a great way to get information over to us. So it looks like we still don't have any questions. So at this point, if things do come up, definitely go through and put it through our portal. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and thank you very much for attending this